totally wrong facts everyone still believes. We're going to see if I believe any of them.
Let's get right into it. Number 10. The sugar high lie. Every parent thinks giving their kids sugar turns them into a tiny tornado. But that
I do know. I know the parents still believe that. I actually figured out from my own scientific research that that's not true and that's not a real thing. But people still have that misconception about sugar. I'm on Twitch right now. Link is in the description, so you should come join. Because if you don't,
that idea is completely wrong. Scientists tested this. They gave some kids sugar, others got fake sugar, and neither the kids nor their parents knew who got what. The result was absolutely nothing. The sugar kids weren't any more hyper than the no-sugar kids.
Exactly.
But when parents thought their kids had sugar, they suddenly started seeing them as hyperactive. They watched their kids like hawks, waiting for any sign of energetic behavior.
Exactly. They're just over-observant if they have sugar. That, or imagine a kid and you give them candy. They're excited for the candy. So their excitement starts before they even eat something sweet. Then they eat something sweet and then they're in a good mood. Like after you eat something good and you're in a good mood, what do you start doing? You start bouncing around, you start jiggling, you start shaking your breasts everywhere. Like that's just how it goes after you eat something you want to eat.
Jumps once, they blamed the sugar. Kid laughs, sugar rush. This whole thing started back in the 1970s when a doctor claimed food additives were making kids hyperactive. Parents jumped on that idea immediately. A kid bouncing off the walls at a birthday party probably has more to do with being at a birthday party than the cake they just ate.
Exactly.
They're excited, playing with friends, maybe sleep deprived. Those kids would be just as hyper if you gave them sugar-free cake. Number 9, your brain isn't slacking off. You've probably heard that humans only use 10% of their brains.
I heard that. That was always stupid to me. Because what do you mean I have a whole brain in my head and I'm only using 10% of it? What sense does that even make? What could the other 90% possibly be doing? Could I fly if I had all 100%? Like, what are we talking about? That was always stupid to me.
That's about as true as saying fish only use 10% of the ocean. This myth is so popular that Hollywood made entire movies about it. The ones where someone takes a magic pill and suddenly they're solving quantum physics while doing backflips. Your brain is already going full.
What about like when people hit their head and they just know a whole different language? That doesn't make sense to me. Because how do you know a whole different language without learning the language? And how do you know what you're saying if you've never spoke the language? Like that doesn't make sense. Your brain still needs to have some comprehension of the language to hit your head and know a different language. That doesn't make sense to me.
Full throttle all the time. Scientists can watch brains light up in real time using special scanners, and they see activity everywhere, all the time. Even when you're sleeping, your brain is working. It's controlling your breathing, managing your heartbeat,
Good job,
and replaying embarrassing memories. Your brain only makes up 2% of your body weight, but this overachiever uses 20% of your body's energy. That's like having a tiny space heater that eats all your electricity. If 90% of your brain was really doing nothing, evolution would have removed it ages ago. Nature doesn't keep useless stuff around. The proof is what happens when any...
That does make sense. I think some people are just stupid, so they tell everyone else their stupid idea. And other stupid people believe it. But the world is flat. Okay. Believe it or not. The world is still flat. All right. I don't care what anyone else tells you. Okay. I walked on the earth and I didn't feel no curve. It's flat.
A tiny part of the brain gets damaged. Even a small injury can cause major problems. This 10% myth likely came from a Harvard researcher in the 1800s who said people weren't living up to their full potential. Then someone misinterpreted that to mean we only use 10% of our brains. Number 8.
What?
Pennies from heaven won't kill you. You've probably heard that a penny dropped from the Empire State Building could punch through someone's skull. That's not true. When someone drops a penny from up high,
I used to think it could too, though. And then I watched a very highly educated video on someone I raised. Like, I was their professor. And then they came to me and they're like, actually, this isn't true. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I raised a genius. It's just, you know what I mean?
Starts falling, picking up speed thanks to gravity. But then air resistance kicks in. Air isn't empty space. It pushes back against anything moving through it too fast. The penny hits these air molecules and starts tumbling. By the time it falls about 50 feet...
Why is that penny so hairy? Like, what did you accidentally drop it in maple syrup and then it got on the ground and you drop it in the honey? Why is that? Why does the penny have pubic hair?
It reaches terminal velocity, which is just 25 miles per hour. That's slower than an average bicycle rider. Getting hit by a penny at that speed would feel like someone flicking you. Annoying, but not fatal. If you drop that same penny in a vacuum, like space, it would reach speeds over 200 miles per hour.
Oh my.
But down here on Earth, you're more likely to get seriously hurt by a falling ballpoint pen. Those are aerodynamic enough to act like tiny arrows.
Yeah, I was about to say, if a pin drops, that does sound dangerous.
Number 7. Lightning's repeat offender status. The saying lightning never strikes the same place twice is wrong. The Empire State Building gets hit by lightning around 25 times every year. There was a park ranger named Roy Sullivan who got struck by lightning 7 different times. They called...
What did he do? What? No, what did he do? Why? What did he do?
him the human lightning rod. He survived all 7 strikes. After the 4th strike, his co-workers started avoiding him during storms. Lightning often hits the same tall objects repeatedly. If you're the tallest thing...
So what, is he like 6'9"? And that's why he was getting hit by lightning strikes? Why haven't LeBron been hit yet? Why hasn't Victor Wembanyama been hit yet? Why haven't Kevin Durant been hit yet? Like
a lone tree in a field, you're basically a target during a storm. Lightning can strike miles away from the actual storm. These are called bolts from the blue because they can come out of a clear blue sky. You could be out there when the sky looks clear.
But why? Like, why would lightning want to strike us? That makes it feel like lightning has a purpose of striking. Why does lightning strike? Why does lightning strike? I don't know why it happens. Like it just happens, but why? What's going on in the clouds where it feels like, oh yeah, let me strike something real quick? I don't know. That probably can be answered in like 45 seconds a minute. That's like I could find a quick TikTok on how to explain that. Like,
and suddenly lightning strikes. Number 6. Vikings.
But why does it feel like it has to target something? I feel like the world is way too big for it to have to hit something specific.
Left their horns at home. Vikings never wore horned helmets into battle. 6. Vikings left their horns at home. Vikings never wore horned helmets into battle. This whole horned helmet thing was made up by theater costume designers in the 1800s. They were designing costumes for opera performances and thought horns looked dramatic.
I'm going to an opera and they start wearing helmets with horns. I'm going to just assume they're devil worshippers. What are we talking about? Imagine going to an opera, they're wearing horns and they're just like, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Like, your actions are not matching your attire.
They accidentally created one of history's biggest fashion lies. Going into battle wearing something that gives your enemy 2 perfect handles to grab is not practical, or the horns could get stuck on tree branches during a raid. The real Viking helmets that archaeologists have found were plain protective gear, maybe with a nose guard. They did find some horned helmets in Denmark, but these were from 3,000 years before the Vikings. These ancient helmets weren't for fighting, they were ceremonial. Like an ancient...
Who told you that? Because when I was talking to the Vikings, they said it was for fighting. So who told you that? Because I'm the one who talks to the Vikings.
Ancient crown. Some opera costume designers from the 1800s likely saw these ancient ceremonial helmets and thought, perfect, let's make the Vikings wear these. Now millions of people think Vikings ran around with horns on their heads. Number 5, your razor isn't making you hairier. You've probably heard that shaving makes your hair grow back thicker and darker.
I've heard
That's complete nonsense.
Yeah,
when you shave, you're giving each hair a tiny flat top haircut.
Exactly.
Imagine cutting a tree straight across with a chainsaw. That stump feels rougher than the natural tapered end of a branch. Same thing happens with your hair. When it grows back, it feels thicker because you've created thousands of tiny flat-topped hair stumps. Scientists have studied this for decades. They found shaving has 0 effect on your hair growth.
I got told that. I was told in high school, hey, you should just cut all your hair off and so it can grow back and it can be more even. I'm like, not more even, but it'll grow back. They were like, it'll grow back fast. And you could do this and that and the third with it. I'm like, that don't even make sense. That don't make any sense.
Thickness, color, and growth rate are locked in by your genes. That razor isn't reprogramming your DNA. If shaving really made hair grow thicker, every balding guy would be shaving their head daily. We'd have found the cure for baldness in a can of shaving cream. But Jeff Bezos is still bald, despite being able to afford infinite expensive razors.
But Jeff Bezos is still bald. That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
The myth persists because the stubble feels convincing when it grows back. It's the same old hair, just with a blunt end. Number 4, swim whenever you want. Your mom probably told you to wait 30 minutes after eating before swimming,
because of
warning you'd get cramps and drown.
Yep. I never was told I would drown. To be honest, I've never thought of if I got a cramp, I would drown. I only thought of if I got a cramp, I have to get out and have to wait to swim again. I've never thought of like me cramping up to the point where I could drown.
This myth is so widespread, even lifeguards used to enforce it. But there's zero evidence swimming after eating is dangerous. Not a single documented case exists of someone drowning because they ate before diving in. The theory was that after eating, blood rushes to your stomach for digestion, leaving arms and legs without enough blood, causing cramps. But our bodies can handle both digestion and swimming. You might get a minor cramp if you swim intensely right after a huge meal, similar to running after eating.
Yeah.
The American Red Cross confirms this isn't a real danger. Competitive swimmers actually eat during their training sessions.
That's nasty, though. The middle of the water, eating a sandwich, crumbs going everywhere.
Maybe
Yuck.
don't eat an entire pizza right before intense swimming. Number 3, your head isn't a heat chimney. Your mom probably
What the hell does that mean?
told you, put on a hat or you'll freeze to death. That whole, you lose 50% of your body heat through your head thing is nonsense.
Has anyone ever heard of that? Have any of y'all ever heard of that?
This myth started with an old Army survival manual claiming 40 to 45% of body heat escapes through your head.
I've
But
never
in their
heard of
test,
that, bro.
they dressed people in full winter gear and left their heads exposed. Of course, most heat escaped through their heads. It was the only part not covered. Your head makes up about 10% of your body's surface area, so it can only
10%?
lose about 10% of your body heat. Heat loss is actually proportional to whatever skin is exposed.
Oh, that's
Your head
nice.
might feel extra cold because it has more blood vessels close to the surface, but you're not actually losing significantly more heat there compared to other exposed body parts. The only time this advice actually makes sense is for babies and small kids. Their heads are proportionally bigger compared to their bodies, so they do lose more heat up there. But
Ugly
for
hat
adults,
kid.
your uncovered arms will lose just as much heat as your uncovered head. Number 2, goldfish memory. Everyone says goldfish have a 3-second memory. That's complete nonsense.
Like, I heard like goldfish memory like it's short, but I never put like a specific timer on it.
These fish are actually pretty smart. Scientists put
Of course they
goldfish
are.
in mazes. They not only solved them, but remembered the solution months later. These
Oh.
fish can even recognize faces. Imagine being a goldfish, swimming in your bowl, thinking, oh look, it's
Emo?
Dave again with the food. They can also learn tricks. Some goldfish trainers have taught them to do things like swim through hoops or play soccer.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of sharks and how sharks are like the pit bulls of the sea. And what I mean that is that everyone thinks pit bulls are so dangerous and they're this, that, and the third, when in reality, pit bulls are the second kindest dog and the second best family dogs, only to go to retrievers. It's just so many dogs would be mischaracterized as a pit. But pits themselves are really great dogs, but they just have this bad stigma like a shark. Like, the sharks aren't the problem in the sea, it's them dolphins. The dolphins are the problem. But they got pretty privilege, right? Everyone's worried about sharks when the dolphins are out there racing. But hey, that's neither here nor there.
Some goldfish have learned to tell different pieces of music apart, and they can do all this with a brain.
Dolphins will use a puffer fish to get high. Dolphins will use another fish's carcass and play with it together. They will be in a group and they will play with the carcass together because they're intelligent animals. And anytime an animal gets intelligent, a lot of times they also become terrible. They're just bad.
Smaller than a
Lord.
pea. Scientists think studying goldfish brains might help us understand human memory
And
better.
orangutans, I watched a documentary about orangutans like 2-3 days ago.
Number 1, gum doesn't stick around for years. That story about swallowed gum
I
staying
was
in your
told
stomach
that.
for
I
7
was
years is a
told
lie.
that, bro.
When you swallow gum, it travels through your digestive system just like any other food. The only difference is that your body can't break it down. Think of gum like corn kernels. It just passes right through. Most gum is out of your system within 1 to 2 days. It doesn't stick to
I
your
don't know
insides.
why was
Your
that thing
stomach
told,
is constantly
though?
moving and pushing stuff along. And those stories about gum causing problems, unless you're swallowing huge amounts of gum constantly, you're probably fine. Humans have been chewing random stuff for thousands of years.
Fact.
Ancient Greeks chewed tree resin. Mayans chewed chicle. None of them died from 7 years of gum buildup. Gum won't stick in your stomach, but it can stick on sidewalks for years. That's
Oh.
all for today.
Oh, it can stick on sidewalks for years. He is spitting. I didn't even know gum could stick for real. Oh, he low-key spitting, man. Thank you, Chill Dude Explains. You were really chill, and you really did explain that.